This conference will now be recorded.
Yes, good evening all of you. So in Angular 8, yesterday we have discussion, introduction and history of Angular. Okay, so last session we have discussed introduction and history of Angular. Okay, so I'll just have a small revision of the yesterday's session, introduction and history of Angular. Okay, and then today we'll see how to set up environment for our Angular and how to create a first application in Angular. Is it okay all of you? Right, so this is what is all about the today's topic, guys. Environment setup for Angular, project setup for Angular, and creating first Angular application. Now before that, I'm just going to have a small recap of the yesterday's session. Okay, so revision for the new students, those are attending today. So basically what is Angular? So Angular, what is Angular? So Angular is a TypeScript framework for developing dynamic web applications. Okay, Angular is a TypeScript framework for developing dynamic web applications. Okay, right. So we also have AngularJS. Then what is AngularJS? So AngularJS is a JavaScript framework for developing dynamic web application. So Angular is based on TypeScript, whereas AngularJS is based on JavaScript. So this is the main difference between Angular and AngularJS. Is it okay, all of you? Right. And next, coming to Angular. Okay. So AngularJS was invented in 2009, whereas we got Angular, which is TypeScript based framework, in 2016. Okay, so using AngularJS we can develop dynamic web applications. Next, using Angular TypeScript also we can develop dynamic web applications. Is it okay, all of you? So basically most of the students have this confusion. AngularJS is the first version, whereas Angular is the second version. This is not at all correct. Okay, AngularJS is a JavaScript framework. It is a separate framework, whereas Angular TypeScript is a TypeScript framework. It is a separate framework. There is no relationship between that, but just okay, the Google team which developed AngularJS has completely rewritten. Okay, so here one important point we have to understand. So Google team, okay, had developed both AngularJS and Angular TypeScript. So the same team which had developed AngularJS is the one which had also developed Angular TypeScript for us. Is it okay, all of you? Right. And next, the latest version of Angular is, okay, Angular 8. So this was released in May 28th, 2019. So exactly 1 month before we got this release. Okay, so Angular 8 is the latest version of the, okay, Angular TypeScript framework. So right, and next thing, why we have to go for Angular when we already have Angular JS? Okay, so we have some reasons why we have to go for why Angular when compared to AJS. Okay, so why we have to go for Angular when we already have AJS? Okay, so the first reason why we have to go for Angular is, okay, it is 5 times faster when compared to AngularJS. So our Angular applications are 5 times faster when compared to AngularJS applications. 2. The second reason why we have to go for, okay, Angular when compared to AngularJS? So Angular is completely modular programming. Okay, so in Angular we write everything in the form of modules, components and services. Okay, so this modular programming is followed in server-side programming like Java, .NET and Python. Okay, so modular programming helps us to develop projects very flexible as per latest SDLC life cycles like agile life cycles, SDLC, software development life cycles. So whereas AngularJS is purely based on MVC. So MVC stands for Model View Controller Architecture. Okay, MVC architecture, whereas Angular is based on modular programming in which we write everything in the form of modules, components and services. So this is the second reason why we prefer Angular when compared to AngularJS. And next, third reason is, okay, Angular is a application platform. Okay, so Angular is an application platform. Now what is this application platform? So application platform means we can integrate multiple UI technologies and develop a web application. So application platform means we can integrate multiple technologies into a single web application development. So that is what is we call it as application platform. So whereas AngularJS, it is just a JavaScript library or framework for developing application. AngularJS itself is integrated in other server-side technologies, server-side web applications. Is it okay, all of you? And next, fourth one, we have scripting feasibility. Okay, we can say that. Right, so we have scripting, language options. Okay, so we can develop Angular applications using TypeScript. We can also develop Angular applications using pure script. We can also develop Angular applications using Dart, ELM, etc. So Angular applications, okay, fine, can be developed in all these scripting languages, but Angular itself is developed in TypeScript. So it is highly feasible for anybody to develop Angular applications in TypeScript. Okay, so TypeScript plays an important role for developing Angular application. Is it okay? Right. And next thing is that when compared to AngularJS, why we have to prefer Angular? Next, these are unit testable. So basically, whenever you develop any application, okay, that application has to be tested by quality analyst or testing engineers. But before that, developer has to do unit testing. So Angular applications are fully compatible with unit testable applications. Is it okay, all of you? Fine. So we can use Angular provided modules and packages for testing your application, okay, from the developer point of view. So these are the 5 reasons why we prefer Angular when compared to AngularJS. Okay, right. Next, we have some versions of Angular. So the versions of Angular started with 2, next 4. So 3 was not released because we had some problems with some packages which were already released with the version 3.3. So which is nothing but a routing module. So that's why 3 was skipped due to misalignment of, okay, one of the module and its version. Okay, next we have 5, next we have 6, next we have 7, and latest one is 8. Is it okay, all of you? So that these are the different versions of Angular. Okay, so this is what is about last session what we are discussing. Okay, so this is a small revision to the last demo session. Is it okay, all of you? So what is Angular? Why Angular? Okay, and why we have to prefer Angular when compared to AngularJS. Okay, so this demo video what we have discussed yesterday will be shared with all the students, new students, okay, who are registering for this course. Is it okay, all of you? Right, and I just unmuted all of you, muted all of you, and at the end of the session if you have any queries you can ask me one by one. I'll give chance for everybody. So let's start with today's session. Okay, so today's session is a little bit simple and more precise. I don't want to complicate it a little bit. Don't want to complicate it anymore. I don't want to complicate it anymore. Okay, right. So today's session will start with environment setup for Angular. Okay, so how to set up project environment for Angular and how to develop a sample, okay, project using Angular. Is it okay, all of you? Right, so let's start with environment setup. What are the softwares required for our Angular? So first one, we require Node.js. Okay, so Node.js provides us, okay, development environment, okay, for our Angular applications. Okay, so it will provide us something like development server, okay, for our Angular applications. And next thing, npm, which stands for Node Package Manager. So when we install the latest version of Node.js, automatically npm is also installed. So npm is a tool, what we can call it as a tool to download open source JavaScript libraries and integrate with our Angular application using Node.js. Okay, so once again I'm going to repeat, npm is a tool, Node Package Manager, using which we can download open source JavaScript libraries and integrate with our Angular application using Node.js. And next we require Angular CLI. So this Angular CLI also we are going to do online installation. And next finally we require one IDE, integrated development environment. What we are going to use is Visual Studio Code. Is it okay, all of you? So we are going to use Visual Studio Code. Right. So now what I'm going to do is, okay, yeah, I'm going to discuss what is this Angular CLI in detail. Okay, it is a I'm going to discuss that. Okay, don't be in hurry. Everything will be taught to you step by step. Now let's start with first installation. So first I'm going to install Visual Studio Code and open it. Okay, and check whether all other remaining softwares are installed properly in our system or not. So to install Visual Studio Code, we have to go for code.visualstudio.com. So I'm just going to URL code.visualstudio.com. Okay, right. So code.visualstudio.com. So we can see the home page here. So it is giving us the option to download for Windows. So this website has automatically detected our operating system, which is Windows 64-bit operating system, and it is asking us to download Visual Studio Code, integrated development environment. And this development environment is same as that of NetBeans, Eclipse and Visual Studio, what we use it for our Java and .NET applications. So just click on this download button. Okay, right, and download will start automatically. Right, so downloading has started automatically. We can see here the size of the file is 50.5 MB, and you can click on show all downloads. So it is getting downloaded in my system. So I'll just click on cancel for this because Visual Studio Code is already available in my system. So whenever you download something, it will be available in my computer downloads. Okay. So as you can see here, Visual Studio Code, right? User setup 64-bit Windows operating system. It is already available. So just copy this from here. Okay, and paste this in our working directory. So my working directory will be my computer G colon Angular online. So this is the folder. Okay, my computer G colon Angular online. Okay, so here I'm going to put one folder, softwares folder. So under this software folders, I'm going to paste it. Right, so once it is pasted in your folder, just double click this and start the installation. So in my system, Visual Studio Code is already installed. So I'm not going to reinstall it in once again. So installation is very simple. Just double click, start the installation, next, finish. That's it. So in my system, since it is already available, I'm going to open the Visual Studio Code from the program files. So click on the start button, go to Visual Studio Code and open it. Right, so this is a Visual Studio Code, okay, so which is already running in my system. So you can see here Visual Studio Code. Is it okay, all of you? Right, I'll just minimize this. Okay, I'll just close this welcome tab, minimize this, and let's get back to right. So it is an integrated development environment where we can write our programs, we can compile our programs, run our programs, and we can see the output of our programs directly from this integrated development environment. Is it okay, all of you? So I'll write it here. So YIDE. It's very simple. Creating Angular projects. Okay. Next, compiling or building our projects, comma, running our projects and verifying output from the project. So all these things we can do it from a single place. That is what we call it as integrated development environment. Now we also have other IDEs like we have WebStorm, we have Atom, we have Sublime. Okay, but Visual Studio Code is preferred mostly for education and training purpose. So I'm using Visual Studio Code only. Right, so once the Visual Studio Code is installed, next step 2, we have to go to the terminal and go to our working directory. So in Visual Studio Code, right, you can just click on view at the top and click on terminal. So once again I'll show you, click on view menu and click on terminal. Right, so terminal will open in Visual Studio Code. So this terminal is nothing but command prompt. Okay, so I'll write it here, note. So terminal is nothing but command prompt. Okay, so we have a command prompt, okay, in our Windows operating system. So this is same as that of, okay, right. So let's go to this terminal, and in this terminal go to your working directory. So our working directory will be G colon Angular online. Okay, so under Angular online we are going to have TypeScript, sorry, we are going to have one folder, Angular folder. Right, so this will be our working directory. for developing our Angular applications. So G colon Angular online Angular. In your system, if you don't have G colon, you can do it in D colon, E colon, F colon. You can also do it on the desktop, and still if you have only one colon, do it in C colon also. Is it okay all of you? Right, you can simply say CLS, clear the screen. Right, next step, after going to the command prompt, okay, next we have to install Node.js. Okay, for installing Node.js, we have to go to this website, https nodejs.org. Right, so I'm going to access this website from the browser. Right, so from here you can select 32-bit or 64-bit installation file for your Windows. So the latest version of Node.js is 10.16 64-bit operating system. You can directly click on this link. Okay, so when you click on this link, installation will start. Okay, so in my system Node.js is already available, so I'll just click on cancel. So whenever you download something, it will be available in the my computer downloads folder. Okay, right, if you can see here in my system, Node version 10.16 64-bit operating system file is already available. I'll just copy this file and put this in our working directory. So our working directory will be my computer G colon Angular online Angular. Okay, under this softwares, I'm going to paste it here. Is it okay all of you? Right, so from once it is available in your working directory, okay, just double click on this and start the installation. So installation, no need to do any changes and settings, simply next, finish, that's it. Okay, so Node.js will be installed in your system in C colon program files Node.js. Okay, so I'll write it here, Node. So Node.js is installed in our system at C colon program files, under program files Node.js. So this is a folder where Node.js is installed. Okay, and along with this Node.js, okay, now once it is installed, we can go to the command prompt or terminal in the Visual Studio Code and check what is the latest version of Node is installed in my system. So I'm going to use this command. So my command will be node-v. So my command will be node-v. Is it okay all of you? Right, so let's go to Visual Studio Code. So in the Visual Studio Code, currently I'm in the working directory of our Angular. Okay, so here I'm going to type node-v. So the Node version which is installed in my system is 10.16. Okay, so whenever you are working with Angular application, always install the latest softwares which are required for our Angular. So the first one is Visual Studio Code and second one is Node.js. So Node will provide us development environment or running Angular applications, because in Angular we write everything in the form of TypeScript. So that TypeScript is converted into JavaScript, and that JavaScript, okay, application will be available for running using Node.js. So in the Node.js, okay, server environment, we are going to run our Angular applications. Is it okay all of you? Right, so once Node.js is installed in your system, next, the next software what you have to check is npm. Okay, so along with Node.js, Node Package Manager is automatically installed. So what is the use of this Node Package Manager, npm? Okay, so npm stands for Node Package Manager. Okay, so Node Package Manager helps us to install free or open source JavaScript libraries into our Angular application using NodeJs. Okay, so it allows us to install open source JavaScript libraries or packages into our Angular application using Node development environment. Using Node development environment. So Node provides us development environment like a server environment for running our applications, our Angular application. And Node package manager, it is a small tool which helps us to install open source JavaScript libraries into our Angular application using Node. So let's check. Let's go to the terminal. Okay, in Visual Studio Code and check npm-v. Right, so it will just check what is the latest version of npm which is installed in my node. So the latest version which is installed is 6.9 npm-v node-v, and this is the node version. Right, so these are the two prerequisite softwares for our Angular web application development in our system. Next, after this, next we have to install Angular CLI. Okay, now what is this Angular CLI? Okay, so I'll write it here. What is Angular CLI? So first of all, CLI stands for command line interface. So command line interface. So using commands, we can create our project, application, files and folders. Okay, so using commands, we can create our Angular project, application, files and folders in our system for development. Is it okay, all of you? Like for example, if you take NetBeans, in NetBeans we have everything in the form of GUI. Is it okay, all of you? So npm is installed in G drive in your system. No, npm is not installed in G drive. npm is installed in Node only. C colon program files node.js. Is it okay? I'll show you that. Okay, right, Shubham? So using these commands, we can create our application, project, folders and files in our system for development. Is it okay, all of you? Right, for example, we have NetBeans and Eclipse and Visual Studio Code. So there we have completely GUI format. Click on file, click on new project, new web application. Automatically we'll get all our files and folders in our NetBeans project folder or Eclipse workspace. Is it? Or else we'll get it in Visual Studio workspace. In the same way, Angular CLI helps us to create our project up system for development. Is it okay, all of you? Right, so that is what is command line interface. And more about this CLI, CLI and its commands I'm going to discuss with respective topics. Now to install this Angular CLI, we have to just go to this URL cli.angular.io. So I'll just double click on this. So go to the right cli.angular.io. Right, so see here, this is the command npm install -g @angular CLI. If we run this command, automatically Angular CLI will be installed in our system. Is it okay, all of you? Right. So I'm going to use this command npm install -g. So -g indicates global installation of Angular CLI in our system. So this global installation indicates that we can develop and run our Angular application from any folder. Develop and run our Angular application from any folder. You can develop and run it from C colon, D colon, G colon, or from any folder in your system. So -g indicates global installation in your system. Is it okay, all of you? Right. So let's go to Visual Studio Code terminal. Okay. So here I'm going to say npm install -g @angular /CLI. Okay, so using npm only, I'm installing Angular CLI in my system. Now this Angular CLI will be integrated with Node.js, and Node.js will provide us server development environment, okay, for developing and running our application. So Node.js will provide us live server development environment for developing and running our Angular applications. Is it okay, all of you? So I'll just click on enter. npm install -g angular @CLI. Right, so installation will start automatically, and this installation, it is going to take all the files from the internet. Okay, so it will take around 2 to 3 minutes depending upon the speed of our internet. Right, guys? So this Angular CLI packages will be integrated with Node.js in our system. So it will take some time depending upon the speed of our internet. Okay. Right. Fine. So now Angular CLI has been integrated with Node in our system. So you can see here, guys. Okay. So C colon users, office, app data, roaming, npm, node modules. So inside the node modules, okay, our Angular CLI is integrated with it. Is it okay, all of you? Right. So this is what is the latest version of the Angular CLI which is installed in my system, which is 8.1. This is the latest version of Angular CLI, command line interface for developing projects, folders, and files in our system. Is it okay, all of you? Now, once this Angular CLI is installed, okay, we can verify what is the version of Angular CLI which is installed in our system by using ng-v or simply ngv. Okay, right. So I'm going to type here ngv, right, and press on enter. Right, so we can see here, guys, it provides us with these information. Okay, so Angular CLI version 8.1, node version, and operating system version, and in this it has these packages, okay, and their versions which are integrated with Node.js. Is it okay, all of you? Right, so this is what is all about environment setup for Angular. okay, and project setup for our Angular. So once this is done, is it okay all of you? Next we can start developing our Angular applications. Okay, right? So we can start developing our Angular application. So before starting developing for our Angular application, okay, we'll see that tomorrow. So I just want to have a recap note. So these are the software requirements for Angular. First one, Visual Studio Code. 2, NodeJs. 3, npm, which is auto install. 4, we are going to see Angular CLI. Is it okay all of you? Right? So these are the 4 software requirements for developing Angular web applications in our system. So my system is ready for this. So this is what is all about today's session, guys. Okay, so today we have seen environment setup for our Angular and project setup for our Angular. Okay, and tomorrow we are going to see how to create the first application. Right, guys, tomorrow sharp 8:30. Okay, I'll just have a small revision, 5 to 10 minutes, this environment setup for our Angular application, and then tomorrow I'm going to discuss how to create the first application in our Angular, and what are the important files and folders which we have to understand in our Angular application or Angular project. Is it okay all of you? So just go through the video once, all of you. Okay, and what you do is install all these things in your system and let me know if you have any issues or queries on this. And tomorrow we'll discuss first project development or first application development in Angular. Right, so thank you guys for listening to this session. If you have any queries one by one, you can put me that in the chat window. Is it okay all of you?